All right, guys, I'm here with UFC bantamweight, former UFC bantamweight, and featherweight because he fought in multiple weight classes under that organization. And now he's got an upcoming fight in the main event of an Absolute Combat League fight. And I wanted to ask, how is everything going so far when it comes to your camp and everything? Because you are going back up to featherweight, it seems.
It's been good. Just been training a lot. My teammate Bilal Muhammad is fighting that same day for the belt,
Mhm.
so camp's been good. Everybody's been busy, we're training a lot, so I feel good. And then yeah, for moving up to featherweight, it's probably a one fight thing. If I make it back to the UFC like I hope one day, I'll definitely be a bantamweight.
Is it just because you're in the regional organizations now? Are you more willing to take those 145 and maybe even like a 155 matchups just because maybe a lot more fights fall through and you don't want to spend all that time cutting all the weight for no reason?
Yeah, I mean I cut a good amount of weight to get to 35, and for 45 I take fights often. I'm trying to be as active as possible, so it's way easier to do that at 45. 35 is a big cut for me, and my body needs time to recover from that. So 45 is kind of comfortable for me, so whatever is available is what I'm going to take.
And obviously, your friend, your training partner, Bilal Muhammad, has the biggest fight of his life in Manchester in his home, or not in his home, his opponent's home area. Um, has he been doing well in practice? And what would your thoughts be on the matchup between Leon and Bilal? Obviously, Leon is coming off two victories over one of the greatest of all time at welterweight in Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, I mean Leon's obviously very good. He's good everywhere. But Bilal's ready. I've never met anybody who works as hard as Bilal. I mean, that guy is always working. He's such a good role model to have at the gym. He's our team captain. And, it's easy to work hard when you see somebody like that, always grinding no matter what. And, this is the best he's ever looked. I mean, I don't know if you've seen him, like
Dude.
videos of him training. He's shredded. He is shredded. And, this is the best he's ever looked. So, he's ready. This is big moment. It took a long time for them to finally give him this opportunity. And, he's going to make the most of it.
Yeah, I mean he looks honestly really big, and it's not really big where you're talking about Patty the Batty Pimple. It's like a lot
Yeah.
of muscle, and he looks pretty good. So I definitely expect big things on July 27th. But I wanted to talk about because you were putting your name in the hat. Obviously, your goal right now is to get back in the UFC, and you said you wanted to at least offer your name to the UFC and say, hey. I'm here. I'm working. I'm in main events on the regional scene. I'm trying to get my wins, trying to get back into the rhythm of things on another win streak, but I'm always available to get back into the UFC. And you were trying to go on and take on Caolan Loughran, I believe is the name from Ireland. And is that always going to be the case? Are you always just going to be the guy that, hey, UFC, if you need a guy at 135, at 145 pounds, I'm your guy?
Yeah. I mean, UFC calls, I'm gonna answer. The first time I got in, I took a fight on, I think it was 5, 6 days
Yeah.
notice, up a weight class. I'm willing, and, I'm already scheduled for that day. My whole team's going. So I know that helps you get that call, if your coach is already going to be there. So I thought it would be a good opportunity for me. So I just threw my name out there. And, if they would have called, I would have definitely been ready to take that call. I felt like it'd be a good fight for me. The dude's good, but I feel like I could compete with anybody. I've fought some really good guys. I have felt that type of competition. So, if they call me, I'm going to answer. I've been dreaming about being a UFC fighter my whole life. So you have to be ready for the call.
And obviously, it would have been maybe like a week and a half you would have had to prepare from your featherweight main event to prepare for a UFC fight again, but it would be at 135 pounds. Would that be any thought of maybe I can't do it if you're not getting the proper training camp when you're not prepared to cut to 135 and you have to do it on such a short notice? Is there like a limit to where they call you in like 2 days, 3 days, and you're like, I can't make it at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I am a big 35er, so it would have been hard for sure. But when the UFC calls, you answer that phone call. I mean, if it was 2 days, 3 days, it's probably impossible. Just I am big. I walk around probably 165 pounds when I don't have like a fight coming up. But I am kind of smaller right now because I'm getting ready to make
Yeah.
45. I'm about 54 right now. So I could have done it. Definitely wouldn't have been the easiest thing, but
Yeah.
I've cut weight my whole life. I've been wrestling since I was a kid, so I know how to do it. I mean, when I fought Dan Argueta, I was I had 5 camps that year, 5, 6 camps that year. So I was cutting weight a lot, and I was walking around 65 when I got that call. So I cut 20 pounds in 5 days. So I could definitely do it, but it's not the easiest thing, but I'd get the job done for sure.
Now, of course, your UFC career. If anybody out there does not know who you are, I mean, you literally stepped up on short notice to take on Dan Argueta up a weight class. Then you fought who everybody is considering their next big thing in Payton Talbott. And I want to remind everyone watching, Payton's going out there knocking out guys in 16 seconds. He's getting round two knockouts and winning every single round against everybody but yourself. You were able to go out there and do very, very good early on in that fight and actually win round one on every single judge's scorecard. So I know it's not the result you wanted. Of course, you're looking for a victory every single time you step into that octagon. But is there any sort of well, at least I was able to do that, and I know if I'm able to do that right then, I'm still improving. I'm still getting better. I know I am capable of having what it takes to still be a UFC fighter.
I mean, I feel like I definitely didn't get the best draw. I mean, it's the UFC, so obviously everybody's really good. But to have a fight up a weight class on 5 days' notice and then to fight probably the biggest prospect in the division and to get cut off after that, it's definitely a hard pill to swallow. I felt like I should have got a third fight. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, as well as I didn't get the win. And so, I had to go back to the drawing board and learn from that. But yeah, obviously Peyton has looked great since then. He's very good. I knew even before I fought him how good he was. I knew he'd be a contender like in the future. And I think like hindsight now, like if you look back, I don't know if I would have got cut if he would have had those other wins beforehand because it
Yeah.
was a fight and he's killed everybody else. But that's just unlucky draw and I gotta get over that. I can't dwell on that forever. I just need to get some wins and get back in there. But I felt him and I felt like I could be that level. I could fight with that competition. And I didn't feel like I fought my best that fight. I felt like I did have a good first round. And then in the second round, I kind of got hurt. And that was like the first time I've ever been hurt in a fight. And I didn't react well. I kind of started rushing things and I started trying to like take him down way too much. I needed a strike and lead to my wrestling. So, I learned a lot from it. I really felt like I kind of dropped the ball on that, but I do take some positives out of it. I did give him his toughest fight in the UFC, so, gotta take some good out of it. Can't be completely negative, but there's a lot to get better on, a lot of improvements I can make.
Yeah, and obviously you've had really tough matchups and you've accepted these fights, so obviously everybody should be giving you praise for at least going out there and showing you have what it takes to come in there on short notice and take on these really, really good guys. But now you are taking on Frank Osborne on the Absolute Combat League main event. How are you viewing this fight stylistically, and where do you feel the fight will end up, and how do you expect to get the victory?
I mean, he's like a local, like kind of like a tough journeyman type guy, I would say. He's pretty solid everywhere, it looks like, but I don't think there's any specific area that he's like better than me, honestly. He's definitely tough, and I think he's coming out to win. I think sometimes when you're in the regional scene, you fight guys, and I don't know if they too much think they're going to win. I think they kind of just go out there and try to have fun with it. But I think the guy definitely thinks he's going to win. I haven't won a fight in over a year, so it's been a while. I just need to get back in there and get a victory. I'm really comfortable taking the fight anywhere with him, though. I think I could strike with him. I think I could wrestle with him. My jiu-jitsu, I think, is quite a bit better than his. So, anywhere the fight goes, I'll be ready. I just want to be comfortable in there again because it has been a while, and I need to get that taste of victory and get back on a roll.
If it was up to your like discretion, if you could choose, I know I've talked to a lot of fighters in the past where, they want to get in there, get out of there, get their check and leave and get like a 5 second knockout. They'd be perfectly okay with that. And others are like, I'm new to my career. I'm still learning. I'm still improving. I don't want to waste or not waste, but like use a whole entire training camp and only be in there for like 20, 30 seconds. So some people like to, and they take their time and really try to learn while they're in there. Where do you kind of stand on this scale of thinking, or are you trying to actually gain experience during these fights, or are you okay with going out there and possibly getting a fast finish?
If the finish comes, I'll take it for sure. It is a fight. You don't want to let an opportunity go and then end up messing up because all it takes is one shot. You could be way better than somebody, but this fight, like the fighting game, is so dangerous because it takes one shot. And so if I get the opportunity, I'll take it. But I do want to work. I do want to work in there and get my time in there. I feel like that's something that maybe ended up being a negative for me was I did have a lot of early finishes. I was 7-0 with six first round finishes before I'd got in the UFC. So like I've never had been hurt before I fought Payton. I'd never been in a third round until I got to the UFC, like as a professional.
Yeah.
So I do think experience will help me. If I could kind of let the fight play out a little longer, stay on my feet a little longer, because I do have good hands. I just haven't had to do it too much. And then, like, the first time I really had to use it was in the UFC. So I think if I could strike for a while, kind of get comfortable doing that, I'm going to improve a lot more.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You're only, I believe you said 28 years old, I believe. So you still got a lot of time. Most people say the prime of an MMA career is in that 32, 33-year-old range. So you have many years to come to just keep improving, keep getting those rounds in the gym with guys like Bilal Muhammad, possibly a future champion in a week's time, and just hone your craft more and more every single fight. And I wanted to ask you if you're watching, or if all the Nick Aguirre fans are watching right now. What is one thing you could say to them right now to let them know what's going to happen come next weekend?
I'm just gonna put up a great performance. I'm gonna do everything I do at the gym, and as long as I do that, I'm gonna look impressive in there, and I'm gonna get the win. And we're just gonna get the ball rolling, and hopefully just rack up some victories. And I'm trying to be as active as possible. It's kind of hard on the local scene. It's hard to do this, especially when there's not too much money locally.
Yeah.
But it's part of the job, and I'm ready to get these wins and get back where I belong because I belong with the best people. I've trained with all the best, and I feel what that level is, and I can hang, I could win. I just need to go out there and do it.
And my last question, of course, you really want to get back in the UFC, but there's many one of these like semi like major organizations, kind of like the LFA. Would any of those ones really to go against some other guys in a similar situation yourself and really improve with the training camp for a lot of these better guys? Would you be interested in instead of fighting on the main event of some of these shows like you are, maybe going into like an LFA route or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, if LFA offered me something, I would definitely be interested. Um, and I'm not completely just UFC. Like, if
Yeah,
PFL offered me something, ONE FC, I think Ryzen is a super cool show. I'd love to go
yeah,
fight overseas. I think, like, you ever see their New Year's shows, like things
dude.
like that? Great opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, I would do that second. But yeah, and then locally, there's definitely bigger shows like around here in the Midwest. Anthony Pettis Fighting Championship is like a big deal.
Yeah.
And my dad's actually one of the matchmakers for that.
Hey.
So I'm kind of expecting to be on that by the end of the year, hopefully October. So, got to get through this first though.
Well, it sounds like you got a good plan. Get a nice victory this next weekend, of course. Possibly go on to A1 combat, and if you get one win, two wins, it doesn't matter. you get them in impressive fashion, a knockout, a submission, even a dominant decision. It doesn't matter as long as you're putting on a great performance. I'm sure the UFC or one of these other major organizations will definitely be calling very, very soon. So I thank you for taking your time to talk with me today and do this interview. And of course, good luck on July 27th.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.